Have you ever wondered what really separates the top-tier traders from, well, everybody else? Today we're diving into the thinking of Tom Hougaard, a high-stakes trader who says the secret isn't some complex strategy. It's about a complete and total shift in how you think. So let's get into his philosophy, because it's a real game-changer for anyone who's stuck in that cycle of losing.
All right, let's just start with a pretty brutal fact. Around 90% of retail traders consistently lose money. I mean, think about that. Year in, year out, with all the books and all the courses out there, the huge majority of people who try this fail. It's a wild number, and it really makes you wonder, what are they all doing wrong?
And here's where it gets kind of weird. Get this. When you actually look at the data from millions of accounts, you find this strange paradox. A lot of these losing traders, they actually have a win rate over 50%. So they're right more often than they're wrong. So if they're winning most of the time, why are their accounts getting smaller? That is the exact problem we're going to unpack right now.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig into that 90% paradox. Then, we'll talk about why you're basically fighting your own brain. After that, we'll get to the main idea, the best loser wins, and then look at a pretty radical motivator, disgust. And finally, we'll piece it all together to forge the ideal trader's mindset.
Okay, first up, the 90% paradox. Here's the deal. In the world of trading, doing what feels normal, what everyone else seems to be doing, that is a guaranteed ticket to failure. The behaviors that feel so logical are actually the exact blueprint for losing your money.
And this chart, well, it tells the whole story. For the average trader, their losses are just so much bigger than their gains. You know, they might win 6 out of 10 trades, which feels great, but the 4 trades they lose are so huge, they just wipe out all those little wins, and then some. It's not about how often you win. It's all about how much you lose when you are inevitably wrong.
And this quote from Tom Hougaard just hits the nail on the head. If the normal way of doing things leads 90% of people straight to failure, then being normal is the absolute last thing you should want. To actually succeed, you have to do things that feel completely, and I mean completely abnormal. So, if being normal is the problem, why is it so hard to just stop? Well, the truth is, you're not really fighting the market. You're fighting your own brain. Good trading goes against every single fiber of our human nature. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The 90% of losing traders, they hold on to their losing trades just hoping and praying they'll turn around. But then they'll snatch tiny little profits from a winning trade because they're terrified of losing them. The winning 10%, they do the exact opposite. They cut their losses without a second thought, and they let their winners run for as long as possible. They are running on a process, not on pure, raw emotion. You know that feeling you get? That's actually got a name. Cognitive dissonance. It's that awful mental tug-of-war. Your logical plan says, cut the loss right now, but your gut is just screaming, no, just wait, give it a little more time. That uncomfortable feeling, that's your logical brain and your emotional brain literally fighting for control of your mouse. It really just boils down to this simple, brutal truth. Hope, which is such a wonderful thing in life, is a trader's absolute worst enemy. It's what keeps you clinging to a sinking ship. And fear, which is supposed to protect you, does the exact opposite. It panics you and kicks you out of a perfectly good trade way too early.
All right, so what's the answer to all these mental traps? Well, it's a completely backwards philosophy, one that Hougaard calls the best loser wins. And this is the real key to success. Just let that sink in for a second. Success in trading isn't about becoming a better winner. It's about becoming a world-class loser. It means mastering the art of taking a loss, quickly, without emotion, and with total efficiency. The person who is the absolute best at losing is the one who ultimately wins the game.
So how do you become the best loser? It's really a 3-step mental shift. First, you have to assume every single trade you take is wrong, right from the start until the market proves you right. Second, you have to expect to be uncomfortable. That anxiety is just part of the job, not a signal to freak out. And third, you have to control your emotions. Don't get giddy when you win, and don't get depressed when you lose. Stay neutral.
Okay, now we get to a really unique idea from Hougaard. He says that if you are seriously struggling to change those bad habits, you need something way stronger than just wanting to be better. You need the surprising and kind of shocking power of disgust.
I mean, think about it. Saying positive affirmations, visualizing success. That stuff feels good,
But is it really strong enough to break a habit that's costing you thousands of dollars? Hougaard argues that disgust, that powerful, gut-wrenching feeling of repulsion, is a much more effective tool for creating real, lasting change.
The whole idea is to stop making excuses for your mistakes, like holding a loser too long. Instead, you need to start seeing that behavior for what it is, a weakness that you should be genuinely disgusted by. When you get to the point that the very thought of repeating that mistake makes you feel sick, that's when you'll finally stop doing it for good.
And this metaphor is just perfect. Disgust is like a wildfire that just burns away all the old, rotten habits, all the lame excuses. Yeah, it's destructive, but it clears the ground completely. It creates a clean slate where new, healthy, and profitable behaviors can finally start to grow.
So after that fire clears all the debris, what are we actually building in its place? We're forging the ideal mindset. This is the ultimate goal. This is the state of mind that lets a trader operate with an elite level of calm and consistency.
The ideal trader is incredibly flexible. They can change their mind the second the market tells them they're wrong, with zero ego. They're basically indifferent to winning or losing any one trade, because they're totally focused on just executing their process perfectly. They are fearless, but not reckless, and they see all market information neutrally. It's just data, not something to be scared of.
And this all really comes from one core belief. The market has no memory. The outcome of your last 10 trades has absolutely zero effect on what your next one will do. Every single moment is a fresh event, like a brand new coin flip that is completely independent of everything that came before it.
In the end, Hougaard's entire philosophy really comes down to this simple truth. The charts, the fancy indicators, all that stuff, it's secondary. Your success or your failure as a trader is almost entirely decided by your ability to manage that battlefield between your ears. If you can control your mind, you can control your future.
And that leaves us with one final thought to take away with you. As you think about your own trading patterns, don't just ask yourself what you want to improve. Ask yourself this: what self-sabotaging habit are you finally, truly ready to get disgusted with? Because the answer to that question, well, that might just be the start of everything.